Hello everyone, I'm Brian, and today I'm going to be doing a reaction to Time and Death by Rupert, I believe is the guy's name. So this is a request. If you request, please leave the title of the video, the channel name, and the link to the video. Because I think links to videos sometimes get spam blocked by YouTube and I won't see them, so to be safe, just do that. So anyways, don't know anything about this, let's go and give this a shot. CC's already on.
Just one point here. That the gap of deep sleep is noted or known by virtue of sort of falling into sleep and then coming out of it some hours later, the beginning and ending. But in that period of time when I'm not dreaming and I'm in deep sleep, I say I'm unconscious, or awareness. It's not like awareness ends, but there is no knowing during that period. There is no knowing for like hours.
How do you know?
There's no knowing for hours. How do you know? Because I don't know during those times. I guess that's how I would answer that, you know? I mean, you have no recollection, no memory of it. So I guess then does having no recollection and no memory means that it never happened?
Well, I guess I rely upon memory.
But that is quite a different matter. You're relying on memory means the mind. So when the mind wakes up in the morning, you're relying on the mind to tell you about an experience during which it was not present. What on earth can the mind know about an experience where it was not present?
So
I was thinking along the lines of, we still have this instinctual, we are evolved animals. Animals act on instinct more than anything, and we have evolved from animals to have a deeper understanding, to have a consciousness of choice, I guess. But we still have instinctual things in our body, and our mind still controls our body unwillingly, I guess, as to say. Like when we are asleep, clearly we didn't stop breathing. We're still breathing, so that's automated. We have a lot of automated senses, instinctual senses, where our brain, that I guess we can't necessarily control, takes over. It's not like, you lose your sense of touch. Someone could be slapping the crap out of you while you're sleeping. You would not feel a thing. No, you're gonna wake up in pain if you don't wake up from the first slap. So our senses aren't exactly off. That's what Krishnamurti was talking about, I believe. The fact that maybe he was talking about that. The fact that even though when we're asleep unconscious and we don't have awareness, but we do have awareness. Or maybe he's talking about something deeper about that. But it's the sheer fact that you are still, your body is still aware of your surroundings to a degree. But some people are like deeper sleeper. You can punch them in the face and probably still sleep through that. Maybe their Turia just left the building for that time being.
it's the mind that wasn't present, but not awareness that wasn't present.
Yes, the mind is not present. Every time a thought comes to an end, in fact, there is no such thing as a mind. There's just the current thought.
Right.
And every time a thought comes to an end, what we call the mind comes to an end. And that's all there is to the mind, is thoughts and images. There isn't a collection, a bag full of. It's just the current thought.
Okay.
In mind, because the mind identifies awareness with itself, because the mirror thinks, I have my own pocket of light inside me. I'm not reflecting light from the sun. I generate my own light within me. In other words, the mind identifies awareness with itself. The mind thinks, when I disappear, awareness disappears.
Yeah.
But so let's push deeper into this. What is your experience of time?
Oh, it's quite fluid. Like you can meditate for a couple hours and it seems like 5 minutes, and yeah, it's very unreliable.
Okay.
Unreliable.
But nevertheless, you experience something called time.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Now, mind you, hopefully it's not going to say time doesn't exist. Time is... no, Sadhguru was saying time, there's no such thing as time, it's just space between objects. I know I had a revelation at that point, but I have to keep thinking deeper about it. Time can be that, absolutely. Time, there is no physical attribute to time. Well, I guess there can be, which is basically like half-lives of radiation or atoms or whatever. From a time that an atom has 100 isotopes or whatever it is till it gets to 50 isotopes, that is time that you can perceive, even though it's not real time, but it is time. It's something defined of a period that has happened. Sadhguru, I remember saying, time doesn't exist, but it's merely a measurement, a space between two, a space of something. But if it doesn't move, then has time really happened? Anyway, sorry. I was thinking about that whenever you were talking about this.
So, can we agree on a definition of time?
Yes, that there. I mean, there has to be a way of defining it so that we have an understanding of it. That way we can clarify it.
As the duration between two events.
Yes, that can work. Exactly. Like, again, half-life of radiation of some type of isotopes or whatever. I don't know what the scientific is. I forget. It's been a while since I've been in science class.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's not the only definition, but it's
it's a definition.
Okay.
That's actually a really good one
And
too, I
let's
guess.
take as two events. It could be two events in the past, an event in the past and an event in the future. It could be an event in the past and now. So let's just take the current event as one of the points, and let's take an event such as dinner last night as the second point. And time is the duration that we measure between these 2 points, now and dinner last night. Okay. So now we've no doubt that now is present. Now this point, one of the points is
this one, this one, because the last one was gone. Now this one, but that one's gone. This one's now.
It's very obvious. Now, where is dinner last night?
Where?
Because in order to measure time, we have to find this second event.
When you say where, in terms of
location,
in terms of experience.
How do I know it occurred? Or?
No, just in terms of experience. We've got to measure the distance between these two events. So,
so is he actually going with Sadhguru's distance?
First of all, we need to find the event in order to be able to measure the distance between them.
How about 6 o'clock Saturday night?
Well, but where is that now?
In the past.
Back there. It's in memory.
And when does memory take place?
Now.
So memory is an image. So that is the current event. Okay, that's one event. The current image. That's one event. But we don't want the current event. We want another event that we're going to measure the distance between them. So we're not looking for the memory of last night's dinner. We're looking for last night's dinner.
Physical.
Return to that experience?
Can you return to that experience?
No, it's over. It was delicious. It's over. Right. I get how, it all arises now. I mean, I'm good on that one, but...
Well, you said, and you were very emphatic about it, you said for absolute definite, I experience time.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying now to find out really whether we do definitely experience time. So another way another obvious way to try would be to step out of the now, because time means the past and the future. You can't have time without a past and a future. So if we experience time, we must experience a past and a future.
No. We must have a past to experience time. We don't necessarily have to experience the future. The future is something that has not occurred yet, therefore does not have a time. I would say we do have to have a past to experience time, because in order to have a past there must be a present. There doesn't have to be a future, I would think. A future is irrelevant in terms of time. A past is the most relevant thing for time. Why is it the most relevant? Because that means the present would have to have gone to the past. There is a time frame, 2 points of time there. Future is irrelevant. I would say that. Because you could literally say, oh, I had dinner, and then you're dead. There's no future, but time still has passed because of the time that you've died and the time that you've had dinner.
Yeah.
That's why future's irrelevant.
Okay, now try and experience the past now. Step out, which means stepping out of the now, obviously, because the now is neither past nor future. So now just try stepping out of the now, maybe just a couple of seconds into the past or into the future. Can you go there?
I was going to say no, of course not. It is still time nonetheless, though, right?
No.
Have you ever experienced the past or the future?
No.
Yes.
Could you ever experience a past or a future?
Man. Could you ever experience the past or a future? Present, you cannot experience the past or the future. You can recollect the emotions, feelings, and everything, but I understand he's saying that's the present now. The present you is experiencing that. That's not the past. But you can have experienced something, but you can, I guess what he's trying to point out is that you can no longer experience it. It is no longer here.
As present experience.
Well, what other kind of experience is there other than present experience?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. A lot of other gurus have talked about that. How Osho definitely talks about that. I think there's one other guru that talked about it. I can't quite remember. But this is something that they've all said too. Is the fact that you can only experience now, which I do get. As each of them explain it a little bit differently, I start seeing the whole picture and it starts fitting into place a bit more.
That would be a no.
So you've never experienced the past or the future, and yet you're absolutely certain that you experience time.
I wonder. Oh my God! I would just wish. So my thing is that yes, I have experienced time, because time is something that you experience, not at the present of every time. At every moment, you experience time, because every moment time is happening. I wonder what he would say to that.
But wait a minute. I mean, I get where knowing occurs. It only occurs
The moment.
now.
Yeah.
I get that. But, I got 65 years on me here. Yeah.
What is 65 years old? The current sensation, the current perception, or the current thought?
Current sensation, the current perception, or the current thought. Sensation and perception. Maybe even thought. Because throughout those 65 years, the experiences that you've experienced changes how you think, changes your perception and your sensation.
You have no other experience of the body, the mind, or the world other than the current thought,
I wonder.
sensation, or perception. 65 years old, the current perception, the current sensation.
No, well, I don't feel that old, but
No, but that's a very good question. Why don't you feel that old? Isn't it everybody's experience?
Yeah.
When we get over a certain age, you have it's
stopped
so
at about
common.
20.
Yeah, but this is very common. Not people that are spiritually inclined. Everyone says after they get to a certain age, they say, I don't really feel I'm aging. I just don't feel that I'm 70 years old.
Yeah, I was actually just thinking that. It's like, I feel like, yeah, after, I don't know what age it is, but at a certain point, I feel like my mind, it's kind of weird to say that my mind stops aging. It's like I stop getting wiser. No, it's like I feel like there's a certain age that you get to that becomes who you are, and that's how you feel, at least as far as you can tell.
That comes from a deep intuition. They're onto something. Of course, they think it's just some silly aberration of the mind and that they really are 70 years old. But actually, everybody, haven't you heard die-hard materialists say, it's funny, I just don't feel 70. I know this body is beginning to
Age.
get old, but they don't feel 70 for a very good reason. It comes from a deep intuition that what they are is not 70. Anyway, that's let's be more scientific and experiential. And so, go back to, have you ever experienced time?
He's questioning it now. Like, I don't know anymore.
The passage of time? Or, I mean, it's something that only in the sense of a past, or...
No, but we've already discovered that you've never experienced the past.
I wonder if he changed his definition, instead of experience the past, live the past. As in, you can never experience the past or present. You can only experience the now, but you have lived the past.
That's right.
The past is an idea, and I'm not saying that it's not a valid idea. It is a valid idea, but is it an idea that corresponds to your experience?
No, it doesn't hold up very well.
Okay, all right. So if neither the past or the future hold up to experience, and as I say, that's not to invalidate the concept of time. The concept of time is valuable, but we're trying to discover whether the concept of time is just a useful tool that we use from time to time, or whether it
The concept of time is a useful tool to use from time to time. I love that.
actually describes our experience, whether there really is something called time.
Is there really something called time? I'm trying to think of all the ways I can answer that. It's a yes and a no. It's a yes, but a questionable no. Why is it a yes? Time is something that we can perceive. Like, we see people aging, we see people going, like Sadhguru said, perfect example is whenever a distance. He said there's no such thing as time, there's just distance. And from you running from one part of the house to the other part of the house is a distance. It's also time. Although I will say, again, time is just a definition that we give something. It can be distance, it can be... It can be distance. And if you don't move, you can there is still time. And that's my problem with, I guess, what Sadhguru said now. It's the fact that... I thought about this a few days ago, and I was thinking about that. And it's the fact that, because you can literally... like Sadhguru sometimes said, he would meditate there and he would sit there, and all of a sudden, he gets up, he just wakes up from his meditations a few days ago, or a few days later, or a few hours later, and it's like, oh, this concept of time is like, he just flies by. Like you get so focused in your meditation, you feel like it's only been 5 minutes, but it's been like 5 hours. So even though he has not moved, time still has passed. It's not like velocity where you have to go to one point. Well, never mind. Screw for velocity. Velocity, I think you have to go there and back and nothing. But yeah, even though he has not moved, time still has passed. So there's no distance that we're covered unless he's counting the rotation of the Earth and the rotation of our Earth around the Sun as movement. Then, okay, then you have no option but to always move.
And you've discovered, you've admitted quite rightly that you've never experienced the past or the future.
Okay, so I'm wondering if the key word there is experienced. You have lived. I wonder what we would say if have lived the past. You cannot live the future because the future will never happen. That's weird to say, but it's because the future will always be the future. It will never be the present. The present will always be the present. You will always experience the present. You'll never experience the future or the past. You've lived the past. You're experiencing the present. You'll never experience or live the future.
And not only that, nor could you.
True.
And if we asked anybody, not just anybody in this room, but any of the 7 billion of us, have you ever actually experienced the past? Not have you had a thought in the present about an apparent past, but have you ever actually experienced that past to which your thought refers?
I do wonder now, what is his I would ask him, what is your definition of experience then? We've defined time to be a moment and another moment. So what is the definition of experience now?
Everyone will have to answer no. Now, if nobody has ever experienced a past and a future, could it be, and the time is the movement between the past and the future, but if...
No. I would have to correct him, not really correct him, but just to answer. No. Future is irrelevant in terms of talking about time. Future... At least for the individual, for you, it's always the present and the past. The present and the past. The past is mandatory for time. Past is mandatory. Because the present will always be here. Well, the present will always create the past. The present will not necessarily create the future. Future is never guaranteed. The past is guaranteed by the present. So the past is, and the past must occur for there to be time, not the future.
Nobody has ever experienced these two spaces called the past and the future. Could it be that time is not, it's just not quite what we think it is?
Well, that's becoming clear.
That's becoming clear
in the common understanding of time. I mean, yeah, that it is a construct of some sort, but see, what I have trouble with is there's...
I'm going to pause it real quick. So let me know, do you think of my theory of time that a past is mandatory for there to be time, right? Because again, future is never guaranteed, and everything could stop existing right now and there's no future, but the fact that we had a present will always in fact incur that we have a past. The fact that we live for even a millisecond incurs a past and a present, therefore time. Non-existence is the only thing that prevents time from ever occurring, because nothing happened. Nothing has happened. Is time dependent on something to occur? If there's a complete empty space, is there time? Maybe. Or maybe not. It all depends.
I mean, just the beginning of this conversation some minutes ago, and this, my words right now, being with you right here, there's been the passage of time. I mean, that's just what we call it, the passage of time. We're being real present here, Rupert, you and me. but there's been the passage of time. I don't want to get caught up on definitions or caught on the horns of language.
You kind of have to know what you're talking about. You can't just say, "Okay, I get it," if you don't understand the definition. I would assume, for me personally, I would have to know. Okay, so he's saying that you cannot experience the past. So what is the definition of experience, so I can confirm that yes, I've not experienced the past, because the definition for experience for him and for the talker could be completely different. It's like, yeah, I've experienced the past, and his definition could very well be like, I have done that, and I'm currently doing something else. And his definition of what experience might be different, or it could be the same, but just they solely define time as two moments, something that occurred in the past, and then the present.
But this is not about language.
Okay.
It's not about language. Let me just give you another model as a possibility. That we're not moving along, that time is not cast in stone out there in the universe, and that we are moving along this line of time. That's the conventional model. That we all think, or many of us think we experience. Well, let me give you an alternative model.
Well, I think I understand what it's saying. I do understand. A time is not something physical, something necessarily it is something that we have defined, and it could have many different meanings. I do believe it's all roughly the same, though. It is in fact what Sadhguru said, a measurement of distance. You're running from one side of the building to another is distance, but it's measured in time, because it lets you know, that's the measurement of time lets us know how fast we're going. Otherwise, we don't know how fast we're going. If you have two people running, one gets there and then the other one gets there not the same time, or not at this. How do I say this without time? I can't. So basically, if two people are running, one gets there and stops. And then after some moments, the other person gets there. Without time, we don't know how fast each person is. We know the distance. We just need to know how long someone takes, then we can calculate their speed. So time is, I won't say very versatile, but it might be. Am I thinking too much of this? I think I am.
In just the same way that this is always the same space, yes? Our meetings take place always in the same space. The space is not going anywhere. We come in and out of it, but the space is always the same. We think that our meetings take place at a different time, but always in the same place. Yes? They take place at 24-hour intervals. Each meeting takes place at a different time, but they all take place in the same place. Yeah?
What do you mean by place? Like in the same building?
What about if time was like space in that respect? That the now was like space, but without the three dimensions. In other words, that the now is the only now there is, and that like space, it's not going anywhere. And that instead of time being spread out in one long line from the infinite past to the infinite future, and we move along a little segment of it, what about if time was ever present? In other words, what about if there isn't really time? There is eternity, which means not the everlasting now, the ever present now, this the only now there ever is. And that thoughts appear in it, sensations appear in it, just like objects appear in the same space, relatively speaking here. What about if all the objects of our experience, thoughts, feelings, sensations and perceptions, what about if they all arise in the same, not going anywhere, now? And that a thought then arises, collates all these different experiences, remembers them, And imagine, in order to house them all, imagines a line of time in which it can place all these objects. And with that creates the idea of linear time. But actually, experience doesn't appear in linear time. All experience appears now. And if I were to ask you, is the now moving along a line of time? I mean, how fast exactly is the now going in your experience?
It's motionless.
It's perfect. It's motionless. It's not going anywhere. It's not moving from the past over there at a certain speed to a future over there. It's motionless.
I'll say that, yeah. Now is never going to the future. It's always now. It's kind of like, maybe I wonder what he'll say about this one. Whereas we are stationary in this place he's talking about, and then there's this string. This is the infinite past string. This is the infinite future of the string, and we're, say, just right here, and then it's constantly going like this. We're not moving at all, but there's this string that keeps going, you know, from this end going like this, and it's an infinite amount of string that just keeps going past. We are not going to the future or present or the past. I'm sorry, we are in the present, which is right here, but the string, the time itself, is the one that's moving around us. I wonder if he says that. I wonder what he thinks about that. Or is that the same thing, just explain a little bit differently?
In other words, it's ever present.
Yeah.
This, the only now there is. And everything appears in that. And it's only a thought. Because thought cannot see the ever-present now, which is awareness, it has to manufacture. In other words, thought can't see the space of the now in which experience arises, because it's invisible to thought. So thought thinks, objects are coming and going. They must come and go in something. What do they come and go in? Well, I look around. Thought looks around. I can't find the now anywhere. I can't find awareness anywhere. I know. I'll make up this substance called time. As soon as I make up this substance called time, then I can populate it with all these events. So time is what eternity looks like when viewed by the mind.
Oh, that's brilliant, yeah. Write that down, somebody. You're so patient with bringing me along there.
But I enjoy this. I like the way that you don't lie down too easily, because this is, and that you don't just say, oh yes, yeah, I don't experience time. Or, it's much better to be highly skeptical and to push,
Yes.
because this is how you make the understanding your own.
Yes, and also to reinforce your understanding, because if there's any doubt or any question, this is the reason why I've said this in my past videos. Whenever I think of an idea, I attack it, not like physically or anything like that. It's just like I want to make sure that I reinforce my idea, so I try to throw everything to destroy my idea as much as possible. And if it withstands all this destruction, that reinforces the belief. It becomes that much more difficult to destroy. That's the reason why it's a bit skeptical whenever people just say, oh yeah, I believe that. And I'm like, wait, what? I just told you that, and you didn't even try to challenge it, and you have no challenge of it. It's like, oh yeah, I believe it 100%. Like, that means you change your belief too easily. You don't stand behind your beliefs, and you're easily persuaded one way or another, and that's questionable.
Your own experience. What I say means nothing.
No, what you say means something. It helps people understand.
Yeah, but I follow you to my own understanding. I do. So what about death? We're back at death.
Okay, so now, having understood that time is a valuable concept, but not one that relates to our experience. Our actual experience is of the ever-present now. So.
Yeah, and also Eckhart also talked about this too. Holy crap! I'm starting to remember stuff from my past. Oh God, I wonder if I'll start doing that as like my past. Oh, that's weird. I probably would do that though.
Now, what
People think I'm weird.
think again now of the moment of, in other words, time is created by thought. Yes? Time is what eternity looks like when it's filtered through the mind. Filtered.
I will still say I do. I would like him to destroy my questions, just because. I mean, that's the way I work. I mean, either my questions will destroy his, or destroy his theory, or his theory will destroy my questions. Either way works for me. It's just as long as the idea itself is either completely destroyed or completely reinforced. That way, I'm like, oh man, I threw everything at it, and he came out with an answer that, yeah, I cannot break, and I completely understand now because all the questions I have, gone.
Through thought. So now look again at the, let's take to begin with the experience of falling asleep and waking up, which thought says one takes place 6 hours after the other. But now thought isn't present in the gap to manufacture time. Yeah? So isn't it your actual experience that the moment of falling asleep and the moment of waking up happen not 6 hours apart, but this far apart? You fall asleep and you wake up. They're the same.
Yes.
The
reason why I believe this is because there have been many a times where I'm like, I can't wait for tomorrow. Something comes out tomorrow. I need to fall asleep now. And I'm like, so eager for whatever it is to be released, either a game or something, whatever it is. You're waiting like Christmas or something or some holiday, and you're like, oh, can't wait, need to go to sleep, and you're so anxious and so excited for it that you can't fall asleep. Like, oh man, this is dragging on. I need to go to sleep so I can wake up. I've thought about that. I'm like, I've had that experience many times where I need to go to sleep. That way time will pass quickly, and I'll just wake up, and it'll be at that time. It'll be that time now.
There's no gap of time between them. Why? Because thought is not there.
Oh.
And as soon as thought vanishes, time vanishes.
To the mind, to the individual. That doesn't necessarily mean time has passed because time has vanished, because a great physical example for me would be like rivers constantly eroding whatever they're streaming on. Grand Canyon was eroded over a long period of time with rivers. So even if you were asleep for 6,000 years, that doesn't mean time has vanished. But let's see how else he explains that.
In other words, deep sleep doesn't take place in time. Nothing takes place in time. And now, expand that. You've got midnight and 6 o'clock in the morning. Just go back in both directions to birth and death. How much time is... Nearly. How much time elapses between these two moments, between birth and death? How much time really elapses between these two moments?
Really elapses? Again, I have to understand what he means by really. Now I can only assume that the time that you experience, which again, it's always in the now, never in the past. You can never experience the past or the future, but in terms of the world, I mean, whether you're asleep or not, the world continues to spin. When you sleep and wake up, if you sleep for 6 months, just because you've been out in a deep sleep, the sleep blankness, that doesn't mean the world is still where it's at. It'd be halfway across the solar, halfway across the solar system. Yeah, halfway across the sun, should I say?
I'm afraid my head's going to explode.
Yeah, no, but you're right. Your head's going to explode because you're right. Thought can't go there because these two experiences don't take place in two different times. They're like falling asleep and waking up. They take place at the same moment. In the same, it's not a moment. It's not a moment in time, a fraction of time. In the same eternal now. We can't think about this. Thought cannot go to the now. It can only think. Thought needs time and time needs thought. That's why you quite rightly say, my mind's going to explode. We can go right to the edge of the now, but as we touch it, thought dies. So it's kind of frustrating. So what we're doing now is just skirting as close as we can around the now to try to, and we're trying to make a model that makes sense to thought. And our model is an imperfect one, but it's a good deal better than the conventional model.
This is very helpful. Very helpful. I'll watch the video a few times.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think I'm settled at this point.
Okay, so hold on, I gotta rewind that last part. That last part I didn't quite understand.
Place at the same moment. In the same, it's not a moment. It's not a moment in time, a fraction of time. In the same eternal now. We can't think about this. Thought cannot go to the now. It can only think. Thought needs time and time needs thought. That's why you quite rightly say, my mind's going to explode. We can go right to the edge of the now, but as we touch it, thought dies. So it's kind of frustrating. So what we're doing now is just skirting as close as we can around the now to try to, and we're trying to make a model that makes sense to thought. And our model is an imperfect one, but it's a good deal better than the conventional model.
Is he saying that the second that you have thought, it is no longer in the now because it's in the past? But then earlier he was saying that the model where it is just a, I don't know what he calls it, but it was just this thing and thought is just going through it. And he was saying that we didn't quite understand that, so we made it to where if we put it in a series of time of when we, in a series of time, we can understand it. So the thought was going in the now, but now he's saying that it's not in the now. It's always close to the now because, is it because the second you thought of it, it's in the past in a sense because you no longer think about it now? Huh.
Can't think about this. Thought cannot go to the now. It can only think. Thought needs time and time needs thought. That's why you quite rightly say, my mind's going to explode. We can go right to the edge of the now, but as we touch it, thought dies. So it's kind of frustrating. So what we're doing now is just skirting as close as we can around the now to try to, and we're trying to make a model that makes sense to thought. And our model is an imperfect one, but it's a good deal better than the conventional. Nearly. Between birth and death. How much time really elapses between these two moments?
I'm afraid my head's going to explode here.
Yeah. No.
Okay, so I think maybe I understand that birth and death and why he's saying that maybe it's so close. Let me...
But you're right, your head's going to explode because you're right, thought can't go there because these two experiences don't take place in two different times.
Because everything happens in the now, the present, the now. So birth happens now and death happens now. Because you can only...
They're like falling asleep and waking up. They take place at the same moment. In the same, it's not a moment. It's not a moment in time, a fraction.
It's like waking up and going to sleep.
Of time, in the same eternal now.
Okay, yeah, so okay, I think I understood it now. And now I'm gonna, every time I say now, it's gonna be like, because that's what he keeps talking about, it's the now. It's the fact that we are only ever living in the now. We are only ever experiencing the now. We can never experience the past or the future. And birth is what we it's really weird. I get it, but I can't quite grasp it. The fact that birth and death is something that we always experience in the now. We can never experience birth or death in the past or future because we cannot experience those. See, that's what he said. So therefore we can only experience birth and death in the now. Holy, okay. It's there. I'm almost grasping it, but I think I understand it, but I just need like a few more. My mind is starting to hurt, but I need a few more thoughts, a few more. I need to ask some questions, man. It's getting hot just by me thinking about this stuff. Okay, wow, okay, I get that. That's interesting. I need to ask him all these questions that I have. I want him either to destroy or to answer my questions, to destroy my questions so that I can understand what he's saying a lot better about the definitions of certain things. Hopefully I don't frustrate him, because I would ask so many questions to clarify the answers.
We can't think about this. Thought cannot go to the now. It can only think. Thought needs time, and time needs thought.
Yeah, because like what I was saying earlier, for us to understand thought, there has to be a time frame. It makes sense when we understand it as in time, like periods of time. And he was saying that thought just is a momentary blips in the now. But since we can't understand that, it has to be in time. So therefore, that's the reason why he's saying that thought and time are essential to each other. I'm trying to think about my question now about past, and past is essential to time, which is actually what he was saying. Thought is the past. I still need him to clarify that though, because I slightly understand what he's saying to what my question is. Okay, too much time has passed. Holy crap. Okay, yeah. I gotta end it there. I'm thinking way too much. It's really interesting. So that's my reaction to time and death. If you like my content, I'm sorry if I cut it off too soon, but it's a lot longer than it normally does. So if you like my content, please consider subscribing. Thumbs up, thumbs down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.